Okay.
You are good to go.
Hello, yep.
All right, we're ready.
I'd like to call the Public Works and Safety Committee to order on 5/20/2019. Call or Pledge of Allegiance, please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Statement of public notice.
The meeting was published on Friday, May 17th.
All righty. Approval of the minutes for April 15th.
Move to approve.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Turn it over to Scott.
Sounds good. Waukesha Water. This first one, there's been no updates since our last meeting. I have nothing really to report since the last time, just to kind of let you know. Big one, Bay Lane reconstruction. All right. So last Friday, we put out it's on our website, it's on the project sheet, it's on Muskego Facebook. I believe the police all CC'd it, that main construction will start Tuesday, May 28th. It will be done by October 15th, okay? So it's a long period of time, all right? The other thing too is tomorrow they'll be going around doing door hangers on everyone's on the Bay Lane who's been affected. What's going to happen is from May 28th to about June 14th, they're going to shut down the Woods Road portion, or they're going to shut down Bay Lane from Bridgeport Way down to Woods Road, no through traffic. This will allow access just to the school to the north from Janesville Road. The school already knows about this. The school already sent out all the emails ready to go. As soon as June 14th is done, we're going to close down the entire road because there's no school to no through traffic, and then we'll be working on the entire project. So everyone, we have sent out a ton of information. The school district is sending out a ton of information, and we're doing hangers tomorrow for everyone. And today I even went and knocked on a couple doors and did some talks with the project with a couple people, so, as well. Hillendale. The next one is Hillendale. What is going on with that is internally we're reviewing the 60% plans. The consultant asked us to do a couple of questions for us. We're internally looking at some ideas of where we think there's some stormwater issues, referring it back to them. They're making adjustments to their plans. They're hoping either a July or June next public information meeting that they could take it to the public, which will be held in this room again. So,
Okay.
I do want to say the next thing about kind of the water assessments and stuff like that. So what's going to happen with that, just for everyone, there is going to be, we're almost done with our water study. So what's going to happen is in Common Council is the Committee of the Whole will probably hear the water study first, which will either be in July or August, just to let you know. And then the plan is to do the water main assessments talk after the budget time, and that was been requested by everyone just to give more time. First, have you guys listen to the water study, and then we roll into a good discussion about the water assessments. So I'm just going to kind of let everyone know here so that I don't just keep dragging this on. But we just met with the water study people, and we thought they would be done earlier, but they're not, and that's what we met today with them. So
there's going to be nothing in the 2020 budget then?
No, nothing, and anything we say about that, it's got to be pushed for a long time. It's more discussion and policy, so,
Okay.
All right.
New business, Muskego Lakes.
Yep, Muskego Lakes Estates. They're here, but I'll just kind of give you a rundown. It is off of Ryan Road. It is a 27 single resident development that they're planning to do. There'll be public water, public roads, public sanitary, and public storm all the way through this. The plan for the development is sometime to start in June. We have reviewed their engineering plans, and again, we say that we just need to give approval for these plans to move forward, just contingent upon staff. The Burbecks are here. If they have any other things that you'd like to add, I kind of summarized it here with everything. So just looking for approval to accept it, and that's it. So
Move to approve.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Will Rose Public Improvements.
Okay, Will Rose. Will Rose Apartments, this is on Janesville Road. They have public sanitary and public water for their project. Again, similar to just what Muskego Lakes is saying. It's a 50 unit and a 40 unit. They only have two public things, the sanitary and the water, and we're just basically looking forward to the same thing, just to approve the public works based on engineering contingency, and they're looking for June, July construction date too, so.
I just had one question, if we can, yeah.
I'm still trying to get.
There is, on the third sheet, I think, it's got something about a 30-inch high wall that's going to be built in Janesville. And it also shows that wall, yeah,
Next one?
Which one is it?
Is it in here?
well, yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it's just
Where is it?
the 30-inch high wall, and then you've got a sloped nose on the curb. And the
Oh, that's
wall is
for-
in front of the curb.
Okay, so that might be on Janesville Road. Those are probably approved by Waukesha County stuff. It's not us.
Okay,
It's all Waukesha County. Janesville Road, I have nothing to do anything. It's probably all through Waukesha County. So they probably got all their approvals from Waukesha County, so.
Okay.
it was just that you seem to have a wall in front of a curb, a sloped curb.
Yes. Yeah.
Why don't we have you come up and use the microphone, please?
She's trying to take notes and she can't get it from back there.
You want to turn it on the top, please? Just flip it right towards you.
Bill Carity. There is going to be a taper that's going to occur in that whole median area. And there's going to be 2 light poles that are going to have to be moved. And that's to create a deceleration lane on the eastbound of Moreland Road. So that is exactly as Scott mentioned, all Waukesha County work. But Neil, I don't remember a 30-inch high wall. I think it's a 30-foot wide, 30-inch wide curb and gutter.
Yeah, I don't see a 30, I don't see anything either. I just see a curb and
There's
gutter.
no wall.
Yeah, there's no wall. It's just,
Typical curb and gutter is
yeah,
30 inches
it's a
wide.
30-inch vertical face curb and gutter.
Right.
So basically, it's nothing higher than what you see out there for a standard curb and gutter.
That's
So,
exact-
yep.
Vertical face.
Yeah, so when they say 30-inch vertical face,
Vertical,
vertical portion of it is only 12 inches. So, and that's from all the way down.
vertical is,
Here, I'll show you the
vertical
detail.
is
I
up
know.
and down.
It's just the So the name of the detail, they call it a 30-inch vertical face curb. So it's 30 inches.
Oh, okay.
It's just, why they say vertical face is because that's vertical face instead of mountable. That's the only reason
All
why.
right, it was it was just one of those things that, for some reason I saw.
Okay. So that's it
Aye.
on that one. We're waiting for an approval. I'll move to approve.
I'll second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The next one is the Nike missile site up on Adrian Drive.
Could you get to the map, Wendy? I'll show you which one. Just keep going. I'm just trying to, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't move well. When you get those big maps in there, it doesn't,
Should be coming.
try that guy.
I can't even see it though over there.
Down farther. There you go.
Okay, keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, yep, okay, that first one right there.
First one?
Yep. This is a perfect good one. All right,
All right.
perfect good one. So, Mike is here. and can you go down a little, right there? Okay, so this is a Nike missile site, and I'm kind of give you the talk about it. So you see, the whole property area is about, I'm estimating here, about 13 acres, I think. And what has happened is, Mike here, the developer, is there's a green line on the bottom there. You see that green line there, and then enclosing that one? So his first step, that green line, the big yellow one and the red one is all one property, okay? And Mike is going to purchase this whole property. The first thing he's going to do, this little green section here, is he's going to deed that back to the gentleman just to the south there. And why is that? Is because the gentleman in the south, he owns all this property, and there's that little outlet structure building. He uses that building right there. Okay. So the point is, he needs to deed that back so that guy actually has that property, and he can use that property nonstop, okay? So now, he's only talking about this yellow area and the red area, okay? So you have a proposed 2-acre parcel, and the other parcel is about 10.5 acres, okay? So what Mike wants to do is, he wants to create a CSM, and he has 2 parcels. The one in yellow, that's about 10.4 acres, and the other one is a red, that it's 2 acres, all right? For parcel 1, he makes all the codes that are possible. So he doesn't need a waiver from anything with parcel 1. Parcel 2, that red acre area, what he needs a waiver for is that little sliver there where that driveway is, that is Al Schrader's driveway, but it's in public right-of-way. So he has 80-foot frontage in there, all right? Part of our CSM code and land division is he would have to, in order to access that, extend public road all the way to that property there. And right now it's a private driveway, but it's in public right-of-way, so he would have to extend a full public road about 150 to 200 feet. Which is a very expensive cost. And the other thing is, it would be something that the city would have to maintain, all right? If you would extend it past Al Schrader's place, all that is conservation land and undesirable wetland issues. So the point is, there's no, I checked with Adam, there is no plan or unforeseen possibility that that would ever get developed because of the fact is, it's a conservation area. That's where we're at. You're not going to develop anything through there. So what Mike is asking for this one property, number 2, not number 1 because 1's fine, is to get an easement through parcel 1 so that the driveway could enter through that. And then you come off the cul-de-sac, which is a public cul-de-sac there, and you wouldn't have to extend the road down the way. Now, again, the easement, it's not guaranteed what the size is. It's something that we can work through with Mike. It's just one of the things is, in order for him to move forward, he wanted to come to Public Works to ask for this waiver. Now, my only reasoning based talking with Adam too is, if he extends this thing 150 feet of public right-of-way, we'll have to maintain this thing, and there is no point that this would ever be extended to it, and it would be kind of like, well, it's pointless for us to take on extra stuff to add. So he's asking for you for a waiver in this instance, but just for lot number 2, the 2-acre one. Please remember, lot 1 makes it, and the only thing that he's asking for is a waiver for not extending it. It meets the frontage on public road. It meets all the other requirements. This is the only one in code that doesn't meet. So, and if you look at the actual memo, it tells you what the name of that code is, just to let you know. So.
I would move to approve.
Mike, any other discussion or sure.
Mr. Schroeder just walked in. I called them when I saw this, and they seem to have no knowledge of any of this taking place. I'm wondering why they weren't at least knowing that this proposal was up, seeing as it's their driveway and so forth.
Because if you look at that sliver of that land, it is public right-of-way there, even though their driveway goes through there. And in a roundabout way, why we're kind of asking this is so that we don't infringe on them one way or another. It's more of kind of just being nice neighbors, but at the same time too, not extend a public right-of-way down the way. So we weren't hampering on them on anything. And to tell you the truth, if he's doing a land division and it's not touching any of their property and we're just touching public right away, it's kind of more of just asking for this waiver through this thing.
Okay.
So.
I would have thought courtesy would have let them know that this was in the works, though.
Now, at one point too, and maybe we were misunderstood, at one point we thought maybe you might have been purchasing the 2-acre parcel from the gentleman there, but when we checked, it wasn't happening, so I thought everyone was in communication with each other, so.
Okay. Would you explain a little bit more about, for everybody to see where that right-of-way actually runs that we're talking about, and
Yeah.
what part would be only the Schroeder's part or driveway remaining and so forth? Not that I'm suggesting the road should go through or anything, but.
Okay, so this whole area right here, where I'm going around like this right here, it's actually public right-of-way. Interesting enough, it is public right-of-way in that whole area. Right here, the Schrader's driveway just happens to be in public right-of-way right here, okay? Just, everyone understands where that is.
For the whole thing or just that upper part of it?
Just for this portion right here, you see, that rectangle.
Okay.
Okay? What this property here is where he's asking for the waiver is to take it off this one, Mike, the developer Mike is, and you have one access point here, and this would be for the one property here, and an easement would be on parcel 1 to access the property here. What this means is this road, this private driveway, would be kept where it is, and there would be no extension of a public road up to this point for him to access. Because otherwise, as part of our code, and I'm just following our code, in order to access this off the public right-of-way, this needs to be a public road, which means full-blown.
And right now, it's just a driveway?
It's just a driveway. It's just driveway, and this is the only thing that Mike is asking for on this. So, again, this is the Nike missile site. Just, it's kind of a weird situation that's out there. Mike, is there anything else? Did I kind of cover everything?
I think so, sure.
I mean, I think that's the only thing. Parcel 1, please, Lee, does not need a waiver or anything. It's just this 2-acre parcel here, so.
Okay.
And like I said, staff, we recommend it because the fact is nothing is going to be developed past the Schrader's place. And so there is no point to extend public right-of-way to that point, so.
Barb Schrader, I just want to ask, when we bought that property, we were told that that was a 60-foot easement for us to access our property. We were never told that, the city was involved, so I guess that's why we're questioning.
It's a public right-of-way, it's not an easement.
Okay.
So that's the reason why. I know it's interesting that your driveway's in that public right-of-way, but it is a public right-of-way, it's not an easement.
So how far does that public right-of-way go? Does it go up to past where we turn into
Nope,
our property?
if you look at the map up there,
Scott, can you zoom in on that? In that upper section there?
you see my arrow? You see my arrow right here? That's it. It just ends right there.
So what was the reason for you to put that in that? See, I don't understand why you're calling it.
I would have to go find the history of it. I don't know why. It's kind of like was maybe that they were thinking that you could possibly develop past your property at one point. But since that point, it's all conservation area and it's undesirable wetlands and environmental cases. So everything I've checked with Adam and everything like that, there is no plans or there's no future plans to develop past that point. And
But that's all privately owned property.
again, someone might develop something on those properties, and that's maybe why it was put in, but it's a long time ago. Scott, you've been around for a long time.
So you didn't go back like 20 years when we bought the property to see why that designation was told to us by the city that it was an easement, and now you've changed it? Or
I haven't changed anything. It's always been classified as a right-of-way. Adam has told me that it's always classified a right-of-way. I never knew it was an easement. So I'm just letting you know it's public right-of-way.
I guess it doesn't make sense
It-
what it is now. I mean, an easement, I could see it makes sense, but public right-of-way makes no sense. Because that's private property.
Again, it's more probably planning for the future, that at some point they maybe thought that it could be developed past your point, and it was done a long time ago. So,
It might just be that it was easier to say easement because you would understand an easement better than to go through the whole. You know, it's hard to, I don't know who told you that or how far back it went.
But the fact, it doesn't make sense to have it be public to nothing, you know.
Well,
There's nothing there you could,
you could petition to have it, you could have it vacated, if you'd like.
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah?
I guess.
Then that lot wouldn't exist. There's certain things why
Right.
your lots wouldn't exist. Again, my suggestion and where staff recommendation is to not have Mike extend it down to a public right of way and have the secondary road come through Mike's property
Correct.
so it doesn't infringe and
And I really appreciate Mike protecting our interests.
And Mike, I think Mike is very well of your interest, and I think what his proposal here is taking into account your interest.
I
and
think it is. I appreciate that, but it was just the semantics.
Yeah,
And it didn't make sense.
And, you know, the other thing too is, I apologize, but is it your daughter who's the real estate agent for Mike? So again, I thought everyone knew things that are going on. I'm trying to be, I'm not trying to say that no one communicated with each other.
No,
So,
because actually we prefer, that's private between she and her clients, and we really don't,
okay,
you know.
okay. And I thought maybe Mike reached out to you because he understands the situation.
No.
Okay, so, but, any other questions?
I have a question.
Yep.
If that larger parcel is ever developed, because it's developable land, what'll happen with that
So-
easement roadway?
So one of the ideas we thought about, okay, you see the two cul-de-sacs, both sides? So that's public, okay? So whoever does do that, and possibility that you extend that, and whoever does maybe do it, possibility you could take the road all the way through, that would be public? Because you have the two cul-de-sacs. So whoever's going to develop this, probably the plan is to connect that road all the way through to the two cul-de-sacs. If that's the case, then you probably would say, okay, the best thing to do is then take that driveway, you see where it's coming from, the proposal, and you have the road, you would hook up the driveway to that new public road right there. But that's an if and above if, number one, parcel one is developed. But right now, there's no plans to develop parcel one. But that would be a plan except for one house. So, one house, one driveway.
I want to ask a little bit more about it.
Yep,
So the red area is parcel 2?
yep.
Okay, and what's the intentions for parcel 2 then?
I believe he wants to sell it off in one house.
Okay. Just by side questions here.
No problem.
Adrian is a divided roadway that we've labeled further south, because down from the
Correct.
shed that's in question
Correct.
was, there should have been history on why it was done that way too.
At one point, I think the point was, it was always the cul-de-sac to the south there, it's a temporary one, which meant that it probably was at one point to connect to Adrian North, to kind of go through the whole thing. So, again, if the developer would come in and wants to put in 10 houses, then we would look at establishing a public road and more everything. Why we're deeding that area back to the south there is for the gentleman, Mr. May, who actually owns the property.
I understand that part of it. Yeah, so there wasn't any long-range plans for a right-of-way that would actually connect the two sections of Adrian from the get-go.
Correct.
All right.
But we think about it. I mean, you kind of can see it there. I mean, you see both of those cul-de-sacs are right there. You would see if you would ever develop it, but it's been sitting fallow.
Yeah, I know, it's been that way. I've been here 30 years, and it's been
30
that
years.
way all that time. Or maybe not quite, because I can't remember when that cul-de-sac was built.
It's a long time.
It might be a little less than the time I've been in town, but curiosity out of that. Okay, so you're creating a potential driveway to the red property
Correct.
through this.
An easement.
Now, if it was created with the right-of-way that, where the Schroeder's piece of driveway is there, I don't know how to word the question. That would have exposure for the same driveway. And we have other places where one driveway serves two lots.
We do, and that's kind of like what we're proposing here. But if you would have to take it through the first one, the waiver would be that Mike, as a CSM, would have to extend that public road all the way through there. And Mike is deciding to do it on his own property instead of infringing upon.
Why is it not a public road when the Schroeders have a driveway on it, but if a driveway served two lots, it would be a public road?
I guess
We have that other places in the city.
I'm asking, okay, their driveway's in a public right of way.
Yeah.
It just has been that way forever,
Right?
okay? If Mike, following our code and what we have, if Mike needs to have his driveway go off a public road right here, he needs by code to take the road, the private driveway that's the Schrader's right now and upgrade it to a public road all the way to his new property, based off of our code.
I thought that was for 3 or more.
No, it's, if you look at the land, it's provided in there. Adam, that's what he needs to do. It's just
Okay.
part of the code.
I'm still failing to see something here because you're serving two parcels of land with one driveway off the cul-de-sac in this proposal. But
Yes.
you're saying you can't do, or couldn't do that in the past, or,
No. If Mike, right here, if he wants to do this, based off of our code, right here in the red, he needs to, based off of land division codes that are in the memo, he needs to extend this whole thing in this public roadway and needs to have it as an upgrade to a public road, which means 2 lanes, in minimum 12 feet, minimum, ditches and everything so that he can come off this access point. That's just part of our code.
but you're essentially doing the same thing with the easement you're asking for. You're serving two different lots with one driveway
That's
off the
right.
public cul-de-sac.
Yes, we are asking for that waiver so that Mike does not have to pay for a public road that goes to this point.
Otherwise, he'd ask for a waiver from building the road. He's gonna ask for a waiver one way or the other.
Parcel 1 already borders the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, I see that. And parcel 1 could have access to the cul-de-sac.
How would that make it better, Jen?
I'm not suggesting it's better. I'm trying to understand the reasoning behind how they got to this proposal. And, I'm not trying to make troubles for this situation or arguing against what you're proposing. I'm trying to understand how we arrived at that in light of the fact that there's driveway there. Because we do it elsewhere in similar fashion.
Yeah, and that's kind of like why we're asking for the easement where Mike would be on the properties that he's purchasing, one access point off the cul-de-sac, an easement on his parcel 1 to access parcel 2, and the other one, and then he doesn't have to create this huge public road here that I would have to maintain as a city, and at the same time wouldn't infringe on the Schraders.
This looks, it looks completely different than what we did with the question with the Heinrich extension down there not so long ago.
It's actually very similar, except for Mike is not even dedicating right away because the right of way is already here. It's actually a very similar case. Actually, Adam said it's a very similar case to what we approved for the Heinrich, except for Heinrich actually had to dedicate public right of way. We don't even have to dedicate private right of way because it's already created. It's existing. So.
Okay. So it falls back then, if I'm trying to understand this right, then because this is considered a right-of-way, and that's the whole point that changes everything here, as far as why there wouldn't be access to the red lot already off of.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I appreciate the discussion.
Yep.
I can't see anything wrong with that.
I move to approve.
Okay, I'll second then. And all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. And the next one is the Will Rose Internal Water Service.
Okay. So the history of this one, just Chapter 33, Water 3354, Establishment of Service. Number D, multi-unit metering. So multi-unit dwellings shall be served by individual metered water service to each unit, except by approval of the City of Muskego. The owner shall provide interior plumbing and meter settings to enable individual meter service to each unit and individual disconnection without affecting service to other units. Each meter and meter connection shall be separate water utility customer for the purpose of the filed rules and regulations. The owner is responsible for and subject to this. So what this is similar to Parkland Town Center. Parkland Town Center has two 30-unit places. They have a room that's in the hallway that has 30 meters in it. What that means is you can go in there and access it. Every meter is for every person in an apartment. Why this was done back in 1996, there's a couple reasons. One, if one meter is shut off for someone, it doesn't affect any other people in the room, in an apartment, so you're not shutting other things down. Two, another thing is water conservation. So as we go and the PSC and everyone's talking about water conservation back and forth, one of the things that is talked about is if I'm in Unit A and I don't use a lot of water, let's say I travel a lot, I'm only one person, and Scott here is in Unit B and he has maybe two people going through and using more water, I shouldn't have to pay for the water use in Unit B. So it was kind of set up with the ideas and principle of water conservation. The development of Will Rose is asking for a waiver, and just to let you know, it's in my memo, but I'm going to make a point of this, is one, they said that their plumber didn't know about the ordinance, and because he didn't know about the ordinance, he's now asking for a waiver through the process. They provided 3 examples of why they should do this. One of them is that they said that there's a water heater service that they're trying to do one instead of individual ones. If they do use the water service for this, then the individual meters don't work. Again, looking from the benefit from the city, there's no benefit for the city to do this, just to let you know. 2, if you're saying that they're saying a third party would put a meter in each other person's apartment and then a third party would kind of monitor that, Scott and I have checked and I've called the PSC, you then become a water utility. If the city sells the water to them and a third party meters it, the PSC, well, that sounds like a water utility, because we monitor our own meters. Another person would have to go and get a water utility for the fact. The third reasoning that they said is because you would have to put more extended lines of pipes that a failure could happen, a catastrophic failure. Now, again, we're doing this for Parkland Town Center, construction methods back and forth. It's hard for us, I guess, to talk about a catastrophic failure for this. And those were the 3 points that they brought up. Now, Bill's here and Plumber's here, and we're happy to talk about this. But kind of our recommendation from the city is we have an ordinance in place. This ordinance has been in place in 1996. We're doing this with Parkland Town Center, which is a brand new development going forward, and we're just kind of being consistent through the whole process. Does that talk about? Yeah. So feel free to.
Make sure the microphone is still on.
Yeah,
Yep.
of course. Bill Carity, with Gloria Bossi. The Bossi families are very interested in starting on this project. And I also have Steve here from Tabellic Plumbing. And they are our contract plumber. And, just a couple points. And that is that I took the time to go through the original ordinance together with, I think that there was an amendment to that ordinance. And while I appreciate the conservation of water, that was done, ordinance was framed in 1996. And that was in a different time. That was in a different era. It was an era whenever it was most of your multifamily construction was your typical slab-on-grade 8-family buildings, and there's a lot of them in the city of Muskego. And it also was done in a time when water meters were read on an individual basis rather than remotely read. So when you have 50, we'd have 52, by the way, water meters that would be read meter after meter after meter. It was a lot more convenient to do it in each room. Today, it's really a different story. Steve did make inquiry to the city of Muskego, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but he called the plumbing inspector, and unfortunately, the plumbing inspector said that he really hadn't heard of, and we don't want to cause any commotion here or anything, but he hadn't heard that there was individual meters that would have to be housed in one room. And as a result of that, we designed the building around meters that were going to be done in each individual unit instead of one central location. And we've got a mechanical room downstairs in the lower level that we've designed that just simply can't fit an additional 52 meters. And the only way around that would be for us to rob some parking stalls from the lower level, which we've already had a variance from. In fact, came back once before on that. And there is a provision in the ordinance that says except by the city, approval by the city of Muskego, and of course that's the reason why we are here. So we're ready to start. We are weighing, looking at other methods here, doing a central hot water heater instead of individual hot water heaters. But there are other alternatives that really do result in conserving water, and that is that it's very common, and I think I'm going to leave Steve to a little of this conversation. It's very common to do sub-meters, and I'm just going to let you go after that.
So I've been doing plumbing for a long time, I understand. I haven't done it much in Muskego. I'll be honest with you, last time I worked in Muskego when I was in the field when I was about 28. So that being said, this is all new to me. When I originally talked and asked the inspector if he knew it, that's before the fact that I said, I've never heard of anything. But then later on, once they were working together with Altius, who's the contractor, said, well, you got to talk to the water department. That's when I talked to Scott for the first time. Then I found out then it being an ordinance at that point. So, but my problem, well, not a problem, but my point is all these, I'm doing stuff in Oak Creek, Franklin, Milwaukee. Well, Milwaukee's not into the individual water meters unless the developer decides to go that route. But the ones I'm doing in Oak Creek and everything, we're putting in these individual meters right by the water heater, and they're read by ATI, happens to be the contractor that I've been working with, that all multiple developers have been working with. I didn't pick them. They're the ones they like to work with. So at that point, these individual sub-meters are read electronically. It doesn't have to affect the city in any way. So I guess we're asking, is that something that the board would be?
How does ATI get paid?
How does ATI get paid? They get paid from the developer, from the owner of the property. So what they do is, I'll explain to you how that works.
They generate individual bills for each unit?
Yes.
See, our conversation with the PSC, that makes them a water utility,
Yeah.
they need to be regulated by the PSC. I think as the PSC gets wind of these in other communities, they're going to shut them down.
And just to let you know, you're on the radar, because I did talk to Denise at PSC, because I had asked. I'm like, this sounds individual meters, because this is new to us, and the last, I've been talking to the PSC recently.
I don't understand.
Okay, so
I understand, I think that you're going to have an individual meter in each unit.
Yep. And it's sort
It'll
of,
be read electronically.
And billed by a third party.
And they get billed just like I get a bill now.
But they're going to be billed by somebody other than the city,
in the city,
which makes that individual a water utility.
yeah.
Is that true?
why would, I never heard of that. I've been doing these things for years.
Why is that the case?
Because they're reselling our water, basically.
We're the water utility. The city of Muskego is the water utility. We're the ones that are regulated by the PSC with everything.
Yeah.
If you have a third party,
Why is that a third party if somebody's reading your meter?
They're not reading it, they're reading it and they're billing it. They're no longer our meters.
they're not our meters.
So we're selling it to the building owner. The building owner is then reselling it
To the individual.
to the residents. That makes the building owner a water utility.
They're not our meters. They're not,
Under the Public Service Commission rules.
correct. They're not our meters. Our meters would not go in this building at all.
Well,
We would have one master meter, but you understand, it's one master meter, and then all those other individual ones are run by a third party. That is,
So we basically have no control of that water once we sell it to that building.
Well, I
So
would
if they-
disagree with
so
that.
if-
I'm sorry.
Well, if there was an issue in the building,
What there's no control of is
yeah, where does it go?
is the rates. There's no control what ATI charges the customer.
Right, so if
And
we
that's the
sell
Public
it for
Service
50
Commission says
cents and they sell it for $1, we have no idea, we don't know, we don't.
they could add $1 to it, they could add $10 to it. We don't know. That, they need to be regulated by the Public Service Commission. If they would go and become a water utility regulated by the PSC, they could do that.
Okay.
But but the problem is it's with the developer. It's something to do with, they're not reselling and making a profit off the stuff.
They gotta get paid somewhere.
Well, I know they get paid somewhere, but I mean, their costs per meter are $3. Cost of the meter $3.
from everything we
Everybody's
heard,
making a profit or they wouldn't be in business.
Right.
Well, I
I
understand
mean,
that.
Bill,
Yeah,
you,
I understand.
right, you wouldn't be in business if you're not making money.
the way I described this, and I talked to the PSC, literally, you have to go and talk to them and get permission, I would say, to do this. The one thing is this is not really common, you know what I mean? They're not our meters. They're nothing to do with this.
so does this add a considerable cost to the
No.
unit or what?
Well, it would if we have to do it the way they want it with, if I have to run individual meters like they want, I mean, like I said, but the problem is it's 8,000 feet of extra pipe that don't need to be done. For what reason? It's just a huge expense. I mean, it's a $70,000 ad.
Well,
to
you said
develop
you're
it.
running individual meters regardless.
No, we weren't. I said it was an option. It's an option if to try to help with, the water department. Like I said, this is all new to me. I've been doing this a long time, like everybody else has got their say, we've all done a long time. I've never heard of this in any municipality I've been doing.
Well, either everybody has individual meters or one person
Yeah, one
pays for
big
the
meter.
whole building.
Yeah, one big meter.
And if somebody has a water issue in their apartment, everybody loses their water till it gets fixed, is what you're saying.
No, I'm not saying that, because it's one big meter. And the chances of that meter going bad are nil,
But
hardly
if
ever.
it did.
Oh, but if you
no.
had a leak somewhere in a header downstream of the meter,
Right,
you'd
you
have
have
to
to
turn their
shut
No,
it
volume.
off.
I still have individual meters for each of that unit. Either way, I have individual meters. It doesn't affect.
Well, that's what I'm
the tenant.
saying, then you have individual meters
I
regardless.
don't have it. No, I don't. They're
I'm
valved off.
confused.
No, they're valved individually. I'm saying.
Oh, you just have a
unit-
shut off.
No, not underneath the sink. I have an actual valve that shuts down each unit, with or without a meter.
Right.
With or without.
Right.
So,
But if you had an issue in your header, you'd have to shut the whole building down.
I don't have, no, the header is different. I mean, I'm running one main.
Right.
And each one of these gets valved,
I understand. I'm
it's
saying you've got a header running down the building and you want to serve up the
Yeah,
header. And if
then
you,
inside each of those units has a separate.
right. But if
shut
you had an
off for
issue
that.
with the header pipe itself, you'd have to shut the whole building off.
Yeah, well, but like,
Well, personally, I'm a little concerned because I don't want to approve anything that we find out may not even be legal if they're talking about.
Oh, I don't think you can entertain the individual meters the way they're proposing it. I think the issue is whether we let them install individual meters or make them install individual meters as our ordinance says, or we let them put in one master meter and be done with it.
That's really what the waiver is. Now, again, I'm looking at Parkland Town Center. We did all individual meters for them.
Never questioned it.
Never questioned. We're just being consistent. It's our ordinance through it. We're just following what our ordinance is and being consistent through everything.
well, I understand, like I said, I'm not calling, because I'm here, I want to do the work no matter what, but I'm here ultimately because it's new to me. Like I said, I mean, you can verify how old I've been plumbing for how long. I've never heard of such a thing. it's an added cost that shouldn't go to the developer, because they're most, if you're a developer that did the 30 units, for some reason, they wanted to spend that extra money, I wouldn't understand it. I mean, I never heard of it. I mean, been plumbing for 25 plus years, I never heard of such an ordinance.
It's, okay, here's the hard thing. We have sets of codes out there, we have design standards, we have everything. It's out there for a reason so that anyone can come and access those design standards for the fact. If you're now coming and saying, I didn't do my due diligence, and I didn't look at this, or I didn't check, and now it's after the fact and you want to hit construction, it's kind of hard for city staff to say, okay, we're okay with this because it's now, you're saying it's an undue cost, and now it's like, well, okay, there's a lot of undue cost out there. Are we going to approve every waiver out there that's for an undue cost when if you knew the rules were and when you're going through design standards and
Yeah, I'm asking.
we've been talking with this project for about at least a year or two. Anytime you could ask me and Scott, and when you did ask Scott right away, he was able to tell you the answer right away.
Yeah, well, like I said, my due diligence, I asked the plumbing inspector. I didn't know that I was supposed to talk to Scott till after the fact. So that's the reason. I did do my due diligence.
I think if you're going to entertain the individual meter on a building like this, if you want to entertain that, I think we need to change our ordinance and look at, and see what all the ramifications are behind that. Before you just give a waiver to this building, I think you need to, because every multi-unit building like this is going to come and ask for the waiver.
Could I just ask for a point of clarification? Did I misread this? Do I not understand this correctly? Or, well, anyway. Can we do one master meter in the building and then you just read the 1 meter?
I think that's the waiver that I would
say
you're asking for.
that's the
now.
waiver you're asking for.
I don't think we would entertain the individual meters
The
beyond the master meter.
No. I think, because
I think it just,
it would be 1 meter in, the other meters, I think you're asking the PSC, but it's more up to you want to give a waiver from the
why don't
question
we
is.
consider 1 master meter?
I think that's the question. 1 meter or individual meters, and your 1 meter is going to need a waiver from this
The
committee.
individual meters doesn't have, I'm just bringing up what I've done in other municipalities. I mean, it's not meant to push that way. I could care less, on end, but I'm just trying to help the developer out
I understand.
when it comes to what I've done in the past.
It's 1.5 miles of extra pipe. We didn't really want to bring up the cost, but the fact of the matter is there really is likelihood of failure at some point in time with 8,000 feet of pipe going up and down to these individual meters. And everybody talks about the view, and there was a lot of financial assistance that was given to the view by the city of Muskego. We haven't come before the city of Muskego to ask for any kind of TIF financing here. And so if there's any opportunity for us to go with 1 master meter, I guess we were heading in a little different direction only because we knew that was an option that was out there. We didn't do the investigation with looking into PSC regs, and so we didn't thoroughly understand that. If that's so, that would be our modified request here.
I don't know how, if it is in fact a PSC violation, how can we approve it?
Well, we're not asking for that.
Yeah.
I'm just explaining.
Here's where we're only asking for. It's either they're going to be 1 meter in for the whole building or individual meters for everything.
But I'm understanding that the 1 meter in then makes a third party.
No, the 1 meter in is okay because we're going to bill them direct and the owner's going to pay the water bill.
Pay the water
They're
bill.
not going to turn around.
They're not going to do.
And sub-meter.
They're not going to sub-meter.
I don't think we can approve a sub-meter that they, again, bill the individuals on. In this case, there'll be 1 meter in the building, no meters on each individual unit, and the building owner is going to have to build the cost of the water into their rent.
Yeah. Now.
Can I ask a question back here?
Yep.
The downside risk of 1 meter is the possibility of a failure.
That's the downside risk. The upside to individual meters, it promotes water conservation is the biggest thing.
Yep.
Each person gets their own water bill. They see what the water bill is. They're conscious of what they use in water. If you're not paying a water bill, you tend to be a waterway.
It's a big thing.
That's how, I think, how it got passed that way back in 96.
If you look on the PSC and talking with the PSC, you know, more and more we've been always worried about water conservation. It's becoming a bigger deal. So if you look on it, they're always looking for ways of how do you do your best job for water conservation. Here's one of the ways that they can do it in a multi-unit building by having individual units for each person, and then everyone's responsible for water conservation. The other thing too is why the code was also written is if anything happens, you know, the possibility of shutting down water for one area and not the other, that was why the code was also written. It's written individually in there. Now, again, going back to why, you know, kind of the city's recommend, we did this for Parkland Town Center, we're just following the case. The idea of failure and construction methods nowadays, you guys are all good. I mean, I'm not, the idea of a huge failure, it's a hard argument for me. I mean, it really is. I mean, design standards, construction standards, I mean, all you guys do really good job. I mean, the idea of saying one's is gonna fail because there's extra length of pipe, it's hard as an engineer because you know how much pipe is being created all the time. So
8,000 extra feet of pipe, to me, is not necessary, or even the cost, even just, I mean, I'm gonna say it, just as a practical point, as a plumber, I agree with you, the standards are better and better, but you're still putting 8,000 extra feet of pipe in a building that doesn't need it. You know, that, I mean, granted, I make more money off it, you know what I'm saying, but the point is to me, it's just not necessary. You know,
I think if you're going to give a waiver here, if you're going to entertain that, we should look at our ordinance and look at changing it and see what all the other ramifications are in that. Rather than just give a waiver, look and see if our ordinance is correct.
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't want to approve anything without looking at the ordinance itself and changing our ordinance. We've been living with it since '96 and it's worked. We've watched many places, you know, Parkland, we watched that go in and they did it.
Ma'am, how old is that? When's the last time, like I said, I've been doing this for 25 years. I've never heard of this ordinance when we being a plumber.
And as for us, we've never heard of what you did or what you do.
Short of Bellick Plumbing, they've been around since
No, I'm just saying, we've never talked to people about doing it the way you're proposing. Everybody that ever came to this said he does it.
It's been around the whole 4-county area. This is the only county.
But not in Muskego.
I guess
but
what
that's
we should
great.
do is we should review the 4-county area. See if their ordinances are more in line with common ordinary construction today and see. Because if for me, for 8,000 feet of pipe, you're just adding extra spots where there can be problems.
It's not really, I appreciate it, but all we're trying to do is get the project up and going. It's just a huge added cost. That's the whole thing. I was brought on board just to tell them what my practical experience of what I've been doing, you know, for my years of experience. I understand Muskego, you're proud of Muskego, I get it, but it doesn't mean that it's right, you know, in my opinion.
I don't know if it's right or it's wrong. All I know is we would have to do the research.
Yeah, that's understandable.
That, you know, if you, are you suggesting that we defer?
Plus,
To go that route, it's going to take some time, and it's going to hold you up the project.
It's going to hold the project.
Exactly.
That's where they're going with it, you know.
And I don't think that's what they're looking for.
No, that's not what we're looking for. Water, conservation nowadays with young kids, I got a 23-year-old and a 21-year-old. Think they're going to be standing around sitting in the shower? It's go, go, go. It's the way it's been all the time. I understand back in the time we want to save water, and we still do, but
there's a lot of us baby boomers that take our time.
Yeah. Well, I think this, correct me if I'm wrong, this is not really set up for baby boomers. I could be wrong, but, you know, you never know. But the point is, it's $70,000 extra cost.
Yeah.
And I understand, and I wish I could help you, but I just can't change. I can't defer from our ordinance on this one.
Could we ask that we table this matter for a month?
Certainly.
Deferral?
To defer it to next month?
I'll get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that would give you the opportunity to do that discovery that you're talking about with other communities. And
How long do you expect, Scott, that it would
I think
take to gather?
The best thing to do is if you're going to bring it to us, we would kind of have you do the research on the stuff. I mean,
Sure.
the best thing, the best case for you is you bring all the other communities and all their codes to us. I mean, you're asking for the waiver. I guess hard for me to do the work that's for the, you know,
Can you do some research in surrounding communities, I guess?
yeah, that's, I mean,
What
that's,
size meter would you look at putting in the building here?
I think it's a 3-inch.
3-inch?
You know,
3-inch compound or just a straight 3-inch meter?
Straight 3-inch meter.
yeah. It's kind of falls on you guys. I mean, just bring, you're asking for the waiver.
Got a deal?
well, you know, this could stall this project. And it's
Oh,
not
1 month we'll-
it's a big
we'll stall
ticket
it.
item here. And frankly,
Like to be under roof by November 7th, under roof windows in.
And that means you need a decision tonight on the plumbing?
They want to be closed up by November.
well, we can, problem is budgeting for it. We can put it off for a month and still be able to make that time frame possibly. But we got to break ground, and how do we budget for something that seems like it's raised to the level of contentious here?
Because it's hard for us to do that to it, because it looks like we're signaling out one person for a favor. And if we don't do some talk with our lawyers and whatnot about what an ordinance and what it is.
It's entirely possible that we're going to have to do 1 meter if that is permissible with exception, except that what we're going to have to do is qualify whether that, how that works with PSC, it sounds like. Is that right,
I think what
Scott?
they're asking is give them a month to do some research, come back to you next time and convince you that our ordinance is wrong.
Yep.
And then you maybe proceed with changing our ordinance and giving them the go-ahead with 1 meter on the assumption that you're going to change the ordinance. I think that's where you're looking, right, Bill?
You know, I wouldn't use the word that your ordinance is wrong. Your ordinance was founded, you know, on some reasonable assumption around water
How about
conservancy. And it's only 30 years old.
Well, if we're in agreement that we can't do anything until we change the ordinance, we know we couldn't change it in a month.
No, but I think if
You could still give
Oh,
us, you could
definitely.
still give us a variance.
Yes.
And
I would
then
just like to
revisit
see
the
some of those
ordinance.
other
Yeah,
ordinances before I go ahead.
I have no problem deferring for a month.
If you guys want to, it's up to you.
That would be our second modified request.
Okay.
I'll move to defer.
Do I have to second on the deferral? Okay, I'll second.
Thank you.
You bet. Interesting. Well, okay.
Yep.
Is there any new business to put on file?
Nope.
Just to inform you, inform the committee, inform everything. I have asked Scott to put on the agenda for the next meeting a proposal on very winding roads, 2 of which I have around the lake, just to restore the center stripe. When we repave, we have removed those, and at least on those 2 streets that are very windy and twisty, I have had a lot of people ask me to have that restored. So next month, we'll be talking about that. You may have a street or two, too, that.
Oh, I have a million of them that are windy, but nobody's complained about it.
All righty. So,
Oh, we haven't
didn't
voted
vote
on the deferral.
all in favor
Aye.
of deferring it?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, guys. All righty. Communications and miscellaneous business?
Nothing.
Okay. Adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor signify by
Aye.
saying aye. Aye. Okay, we're done.